Welcome back to Ring of Fire. I'm Mike Papantonio. When he first came into office, President Obama made it clear that he would end years of corporate influence decision-making that dominated the Bush years. But his actions have shown that he won't be keeping that promise. And I've got attorney Howard Nations with me now to talk about Obama's descent into corporatism right here in America. Howard, the Obama corporate administration, I mean, you're reading it everywhere. I mean, it used to be that just a couple of media outlets, progressive media outlets, would be critical of this president and say, you know, really, enough is enough with this whole corporate thing. You come in as a populist and you leave like just a corporate, one of the guys on Wall Street. What's your take on it?
Well, I think it's best exemplified by the most recent appointment of Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker, from the Hyatt board, a billionaire out of Chicago. You know, Pritzker owned Superior Bank, where she pioneered subprime operations that targeted the poor and the working middle class minorities. She crashed it for $1 billion, which was bailed out by the taxpayers, destroyed the lives of numerous families who lost their savings there, and she has a vile anti-union record. This is the president's choice for Secretary of Commerce. It's pretty depressing, actually.
Well, Tom Wheeler, what is your take on Tom Wheeler, Howard? Isn't it the same kind of deal? This is a guy, he's a mega fundraiser for Obama. He's supposed to be in charge of the FCC, and critically important for the average person out there. And this is a guy making decisions. This guy has a bad history.
Well, Tom Wheeler was Nicholas Johnson, who was the previous chairman of the FCC, described his appointment as bizarre because the ultimate public interest is how the FCC is defined by Congress, that it's supposed to be run for the ultimate public interest. They control the internet, the airways, digital communications. And what does President Obama put in charge? A lobbyist, just like we had in a previous discussion about how the lobbyists go in to run the very agencies where they've lobbied for years. But Wheeler is also a venture capitalist who does business with those people who are doing business with the FCC. And it doesn't bode well for us that he was a member of the President's Advisory Committee on the Intelligence Board, and we know what Obama's policy has been on privacy. So tying that into the FCC doesn't work. It's kind of like Bloomberg appointing Trump to be head of the New York Real Estate Board. It's the classic fox in the hen house.
Yeah, but what you have here, you still have progressives out there. It's almost like suspension of disbelief, isn't it, Howard? I mean, you know, even after Mary Jo White was appointed as SEC chair, you still had progressives going, oh, well, no, that's okay. Well, no, it wasn't okay. Mary Jo White was somebody who was in charge of stopping critical investigations of Wall Street. When the administration should have been investigating for stealing money, Mary Jo White was there to say, no, we're going to shut down the investigations totally. At some point, don't progressives have to say, you know, we get it now, we were lied to, that this guy's great, he's a great stump speech speaker, but when it comes to delivering reality, the two are very different. I mean, at what point do we say, let's admit this?
Well, in defense of the president on Mary Jo White, he had to appoint her to head the SEC because Bernie Madoff was unavailable.
Well, but we're seeing this trail that at some point we have to say it's time to act. You know, here's one problem, Howard. When you have a president in the position that's making these corporatist appointments, we saw the same thing with Bill Clinton, if you recall, his first term. Yeah. We saw huge corporate appointments, and the whole Democratic Party moved right with him. Isn't that just a continuation of what's happening here? We have the Democratic Party that we used to say, these are people that are going to take care of us. They're people that are going to take care of the have-nots, and they're going to take care of, make sure we have health, education, that the public welfare is always going to be good. But we can't say that anymore because we have a party that has become just as corporatist as the Republicans when you really start taking a close look at all this.
That's very true, and it's really embarrassing for the Democrats that the corporate, take for example, the Bank of America, the absolute poster child for corporate welfare, and they're getting support completely. Matt Taibbi, for whom I have great respect, I think he's maybe the best investigative journalist out there right now, refers to Bank of America as the de facto ward of state. They are so thoroughly propped up by the Obama administration with the support of the Democrats. Despite all their scandals, the mismanagement, despite all the corruption, the fact of the matter is that Bank of America should have been liquidated, its viable units sold off, so that those units at least could be held accountable and responsive to the local people. But they're falling into this too big to fail, and the too big to fail is supported completely by the progressives, unfortunately, as well as the leadership of Obama.
Well, when we take a look, if you go section by section, whether it's the energy companies that have corporations telling Americans what to do because of the appointments by Obama, or whether it's issues with the military where you have corporations in charge of what's happening in America, the theme continues. It's not getting any better, Howard. It's getting worse. I appreciate you joining me on this story. It's an important story, and hopefully it's one that we'll start being realistic about. Thanks for joining me, Howard.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mike.